Hello everybody and welcome back to the And More Bus Videos YouTube channel. I'm And More Bus Videos, otherwise known as And More Central, depending on what day of the week and what video you're watching. And welcome back to OMSI 2. Now this isn't Lincolnshire, it isn't Gainsborough, Scunthorpe, it isn't Lincoln. I thought we'd have a little bit of a change. As much as I do love driving those routes, I'll probably be on the 95 again very soon. I thought we'd have a little bit of a change and have a look at a good old classic in the form of Strathshire, made a couple of years ago now. I remember when this map first released, all the hype around it. It released a couple of years ago. It is an absolutely lovely map. I think they are on about expanding parts of it. I don't know how the progress on that is going, but every so often I do like a drive of this map, having a drive of a couple of different routes, as you may know in the past if you've watched the channel long enough. And this is no exception. We're on the 28 stand. I'm going to get the blinds set up because I've been doing a few bits off camera before I started filming. Time has elapsed and I am slightly late on this trip that I'm doing. But I'm going to be doing the 28 service from here, that is Strathshire City Centre, the main interchange, up to the park and ride site going via the hospital. Now, the vehicle that we are driving is YX17 NFT, which is Arriva Yorkshire's 1952. Now, there's no prizes for where this bus is based. Yes, it is a Castleford-based vehicle, and this is a very, very recently released repaint. There's not been that much recently, but this is a recent released repaint, focusing on 1952's unique livery that I think it was given about a year or two ago, celebrating buses operating for 100 years in Castleford. So it wasn't Arriva back then, but sort of the old subsidiaries that Arriva took over have been operating in Castleford, in Cass, for 100 years. So it was a nice celebratory vehicle. They had all the adverts and bits at the back, a little bit of PR for people joining to drive an Arriva Yorkshire bus. That was quite a big PR thing at the time when this bus was done. It took quite a lot of people by surprise. Nobody was expecting it. They do have a couple of special liveried vehicles. So they got this one, and I can't remember, 1955 is in the Castleford Tigers livery. So they do quite a lot for Cass, and as a result, Castleford do have quite a few of these MMCs that predominantly see use on the 163 and the 189, as well as occasional use on the 141 and the 140 where allocations permit. So there we go, so we'll get ourselves set up. I am about 4 minutes late, but we will survive. Oh, I've just realised the stop-start. There we go. Stop-start has quite literally stopped the bus. There we go. So I did drive the MMC in the previous video, but I thought with this repaint coming out, it would be a missed opportunity if I didn't have a little look at this bus with the livery. I also thought for a nice evening run, I am filming this during the evening, I thought, yeah, well, we did a really early morning run in the previous video, so I thought a nice evening running this one and would balance it out. So for context, it is 26 minutes past 7 in the evening in the game. Slightly later in real life, but we ignore elements like that. So these traffic lights are certainly not wanting me to catch up my time. So this is the first time I've driven this route in a while. I'm not putting the route arrows on. I should still know where I'm going. But if I do start to get lost, I will put the arrows back on. So while you've been on this bus in real life, we do love a good comparison to real life in OMSI 2. For those of you who have watched the channel long enough, you do know I love my real life comparisons. I've been on 1952. I photographed it when it was first painted up and branded. It was so random, no one quite expected it. I mean, sometimes Arriva Yorkshire can be quite random as an opcode generally, but this was a very typical Castleford special that no one anticipated, and all of a sudden one day 1952 appeared and it was in bronze and bronzy goldy colours with 100 years on it. So was quite unexpected. See, that's a natural reflex I do anyway when I drive an actual bus. Not in the game in real life. You hear that beep, you instantly look at your ticketer and instantly look at your messages and go, "Oh, what's exciting?" 9 times out of 10, though, doesn't actually affect me. It's quite funny because I'll look and I'll be like, "Oh, a message, very exciting," and it'll either be a little bit of banter, a little bit of excitement, or it'll be something that just does not affect me in the slightest. But I get to look at it and go, "Oh, wow, sucks to be whoever's dealing with that." So I remember when Arriva Yorkshire got these MMCs. Now, the MMCs that they got to Castleford, they got them at the same time as the Heckman White ones, but the difference was Heckman White didn't make a fuss about these new buses. Theirs just entered service randomly one day. Castleford made a very big fuss. They did a full depot open day, all the vehicles were on show. I believe it was 24 of them in total. It was something like that. It was around, I'm sure it was around 24. But the clear cut of it was that Arriva Castleford got 1948 through to 1970. Of them, from memory, I'm really testing myself here, 1948 to 1959 were max spec. So they were the ones for the 189 that at the time did Leeds, Castleford and Wakefield. Now just does Castleford and Wakefield, replaced by the 140 141s existing that arguably is a much better corridor now. And then 1960 through to 1970 moved on to what at the time was the 163 and the 166. And they were the Castleford to Leeds via Crossgates and Kippax services. Again, the 166 no longer runs, partially replaced by the 165 and 168 rerouted. So that was how the allocations initially were, and then over in Heckman White for the 254 and 255 is what they originally were for. This always bugs me, does this roundabout. They were for the 254 and the 255 originally. I believe they were, from memory. Yeah, they were 254, 255. They got 1971 all the way through to 1984, and again at the time the 254 ran Dewsbury, Cleckheaton and Leeds, and the 255 still operates Halifax, Skulls, Cleckheaton and Leeds. I'm gonna let that car cut in because I knew it was going to do that. So nowadays, though, the 254 operates to Huddersfield. So originally got unextended initially because they took it off going to Dewsbury. Then it got extended to Brighouse. Was that to cover the 228? I think that was to cover the 228. The 228 itself covered the 262. That's now long gone. So the 228 was withdrawn. The 254 was extended through from Clecky to Brighouse, and now it's been extended on an hourly basis from Brighouse through to Huddersfield to provide more connections between Huddersfield and Leeds. So the MMCs at Heckman White nowadays are used predominantly on the 268 between Bradford, Cleckheaton, Clecky, Dewsbury and Wakey. Or for non-Yorkshire people, that's Bradford, Cleckheaton, Heckman White, Dewsbury and Wakefield. So they're used on there, and the MMCs at Cass are used Usually the Sapphire ones tend to be on the 163 still. The non-Sapphire ones, the Max ones, are shared between the 189 alongside some Trident 2s and the 140s and the 141s. So that's how they do the allocations. 140s and 141s then rotate into the 164 and the 165s. So they have changed. There's also been a few transfers here and there. For example, 1957, 8 and 9 moved from Castleford to Heckmanwike to assist with the conversion to MMC of the 268 service that had a higher PVR and peak vehicle requirement. So they moved them over there. So there is a few differences with the allocations now, but it's still clear cut in the fact that no other Arriva Yorkshire opcode for now runs MMCs apart from Cass and Heckmanwike. However, I say for now because there was an incredibly brief spell where the Castleford MMCs were going to be moving to Selby. Now, it was only a couple of months ago. It was very, very recent. Again, what relates us to this repaint, because they'd have had to repaint it out or take the branding off. It'd probably been a take the branding off job. But there was an idea a few months ago that the DB300s in use on the 415 were getting a little bit old for the 415. The 415 being an incredibly high frequency popular corridor between Selby and York via the Villages and Designer outlet. Service runs on average every 15 minutes, very busy, popular service. It's pretty much the main service that has kept Arriva in Selby. Otherwise, I would imagine Arriva would have given up Selby by now. But because the 415 brings in that much revenue, they've kept Selby running purely for the 415. The other stuff is run sort of a marginal profit. So the idea was the DB300s that were on the 415. They were, I believe they were new. They were new to the 415 with their private plates. Some of which still have the private plates, others don't. So they were new for the 415. I say they were new. I think they must have been new for the 415 and either the 110, although there were some for the 110 around the same time. Again, it gets a little bit fuzzy to those parts of the history because there's been that many fleet transfers. They might have started off at Wakefield for the 110 and moved across for the 415 because I cannot remember for the life of me when the DB300s arrived for the 415. I know they've been there a fair bit because they've worn two different brandings that would suggest to me that they were new there. And I think the DB300s on the 110s were 1508 onwards, I believe. I believe they were 1508 onwards, the ones that are now at Dewsbury. So I believe it was them. Again, it does get incredibly fuzzy very, very easily. Well, the basics of it is they've got DB300s on the 415. As I say, I think they were new. I think they were new to that. I'm trying to relog when my first visits to York if they were running them. I think they were. I think they were. We're very surprised if they weren't. So I do think they were running them then. And so there was 1500 to 1507. Based Selby for the 415s, and then there was 1508 onwards for the 110s. But anyway, they had this batch of 8 running. I always clip the curves somewhere around here. They had this batch of 8 running, and they decided that they wanted to upgrade it. The 415 has sort of urban bits with York, but also vast rural sections of road. So they moved the MMCs across. They moved a number of DB300s across to Castleford and a number of MMCs in return to Selby. And they found that these MMCs being based on city networks all of their lives and having the very typical older MMC VoIP setup, were woefully poor performing on the 415. So as a result of that, that's why you will have seen photos of MMCs on the 415 recently. Quite a lot, because they do occasionally get one on loan from Castleford, because Selby is now an outstation, not a standalone depot anymore, so all its maintenance providing is done at Castleford. So as a result of that, buses do go on loan, but there was an absolute mass of MMCs over, and that won't be happening again now, because they've decided, for now, that they're not going to progress with that idea. That does make sense, because the DB300s are a little bit more suitable and have a little bit more power for the 415. So speaking of outstations, the weirdest thing with Arriva Yorkshire recently, there's a lot to talk about with Arriva. The weirdest thing with Arriva Yorkshire recently, and it was a contact of mine, sort of at Arriva, who first let me know about it. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a laugh. Thought it was having a joke with me. But the latest one is Belle-Isle Wakefield Depot has now become an outstation. That is the weirdest thing this with sort of progression with Arriva I've ever heard. The big city operation has become an outstation. That really wasn't anticipated. We do know that they've been trying to get shut to Belle-Isle for some time. The idea was to construct a new depot on the new Wakefield Link Road, brand new state-of-the-art facility, and to sell off the original building. The original building's been up for sale for quite some time. Nobody bought it. Nobody's interested. So they've sort of abandoned the Ring Road idea, and I've gone the wrong way. I've done a 69, a 69 AMC. I literally just went into autopilot then and did a 69 AMC circular, because that I just drive them that much. There we go. I knew I'd gone wrong somewhere. Like, no, I'm driving the 28. We don't go that way. So yeah, it's become, for a site safety reason, it has become an outstation. They've shut the maintenance off. The offices have been shut. The whole thing's been shut. And the management has left. There's no maintenance going on there at the moment. All the maintenance is being done nearby at Dewsbury and a little bit of Castleford. Vehicles are being stored on the depot concourse, so they can't be stored inside the buildings because the buildings have been deemed unsafe. So they've all been stored in the main concourse bit at the front in mass, and at the bus station, because you've got to remember that Wakefield bus station is owned by Arriva. So that's how they're storing the buses. It all seems a little bit chaotic, very unexpected. The officers, I believe, have moved to Dewsbury, I think it's Dewsbury they've moved to. So it's very unexpected, very hectic. And it wasn't what I was expecting to hear at the start of the school year from Arriva Yorkshire. Although there is also part of me that isn't surprised. It is a concern, because for a big operation like that, having a contingency plan that could potentially be a long-term plan where you're not got the local maintenance facilities and you're storing buses in a bus station and on the depot concourse with very little security and very little support is a little bit concerning. Very concerning. I mean, hopefully Arriva have a plan in mind of what they want to do with the bigger picture of it. I would imagine they do in some shape or form. How strong that is, I don't know, but they should have some plan. But it's something worth having a read upon, having a little bit of a research on, and getting a little bit curious about, because it is all an exciting and ongoing discussion. So I'm going to get a very nice thumbnail screenshot of this bus in the lighting. There we go. And I could have done that if I'd have only moved the bus forward. Oh wait, I can. There we go. Oh. I see the problem. He's not gonna get the lighting that I want. We'll get a nice screenshot like that. But anyway, there we go. That's enough discussion about Arriva for now. It's a lovely repaint is this. It's free to download on the Fellas Film forums. Have a little look at it. Have a download. If you are into your Arriva Yorkshire or West Yorkshire bus content, this will be the repaint for you. But with all that said and done, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have done, do be sure to click that like button so that more people can find it and enjoy like you have. And if you haven't already, do be sure to subscribe to the More Bus Videos YouTube channel for more content like this from the simulation section with OMSI videos once a week at the moment, but hopefully up to twice a week when I get a little bit more spare time in my hands, as well as an archive of around 7,000 backseat and engine-focused public transport videos from the UK and beyond. With buses, trams, trains and more, there's something on there for everyone, with additional 21 of those videos added every week. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this one, and I will see you all in the next video I make. Bye for now. Bye.